This meeting of the Norwood City Council is hereby called to order. Please rise for the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, as a body we congregate in these council chambers. We pray for thy divine guidance, that we may do all things well, according to thy holy will. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask that all remain standing for just a moment for a couple of reasons. Today's Flag Day. I want to just take a moment to reflect upon what our flag means to us and the freedoms we have in this country. And also, many of the flags are flying at half-staff today because of what happened in Orlando. So if we could just have a moment of silence for those victims. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo. Here. Mr. Clark. Mrs. Stickley.
Here.
Mr. Blair. Mrs. Hannerhand.
Here.
Mr. Sanker.
Here.
Mr. Mumper.
Here.
We have 5 members present. We have one request to amend the agenda, and that is to add a resolution adopting the 2017 tax budget. I would propose that if you choose to add that to the agenda, that we would move it to directly following the public hearing on the tax budget. Mr. Sanker?
So moved, Madam President, that we add the resolution to right after the public hearing of the tax budget.
Seconded by Mr. Bonsall. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo. Yes. Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhand.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Move on to minutes of the previous meeting. We have the minutes of the May 24th, 2016 meeting, which were emailed to you by Mr. Gears. Mr. Bonsall.
Yep, I move we approve those minutes as I've read.
Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhand.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We will now temporarily suspend our meeting, and I will call to order a public hearing. We have a public hearing. A notice was sent for the 2017 tax budget. Each year, the city of Norwood is required to submit to the county auditor an estimate of our income and expenses for the next year. It is submitted to the Tax Budget Review Committee at Hamilton County. That document was distributed to members of council several weeks ago and has been on file in both the auditor's office and the clerk of council's office. So right now I'd like to ask that if anyone who is present would like to speak in favor of the tax budget as it was proposed, to please come forward. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the 2017 tax budget, please come forward. Seeing none, if there is anyone who wishes to speak against the 2017 tax budget, please come forward. Anyone who wishes to speak against? Would you like to please come forward and give us your name and address?
Pastor Sonny James, 1830 Hopkins Avenue, Norwood, Ohio. Actually, I just want to make sure that it's public record that although I commend the council and our fine folks that do the best that they can, surmising the budget and with all the restraints and complications that comes with, I just want to, as we look at the budget, there are a few things that just stand out to anybody. And I'm actually not standing to ridicule. I'm not standing to point the finger. I'm standing because I feel also that I'm a part. And so the comment would be a continuation of a challenge for us as we strive to make our community great. That when we look at this, to also call upon other municipalities that have faced some of the similar challenges that we face, to see how we can, from the top bottom, really address a lot of the issues, because on paper, we really miss the fine line undercurrent of the things that are, in my opinion, missing in our community from a budget standpoint. And it's those things that aren't necessarily earmarked in our current budget proposal that my encouragement in the form of a challenge is that we make sure that we reach out to other municipalities, to other government entities, per se, to make sure that we don't leave anybody out. And I believe that the budget as it stands now, it puts, although on paper it looks like we've looked at everything, it really puts our community at risk in certain areas. And those areas have been challenged before council even as recent. And so, again, I'm not here to point the finger, but I am here to prayerfully in a positive way challenge to say, I think I was challenged when I said there's a lot of fat in the budget. So I'll refrain from that. But there's still a lot here, folks, that really leaves a lot to be desired. And I want to challenge us as a community of leadership to really look at these things so that we don't continue to have these gaps. Because on paper, even though it looks like fire and police are well taken care of, when we're talking about communication and safety, on paper it looks like everything is well together. But again, I want to challenge all of us that we've got to begin making difficult choices. And that means not being afraid to buck up against status quo so that the needs of the community can be met well in advance, as opposed to always coming up at the last minute in the 9th hour saying, we have until Thursday to have a meeting to vote on something. And so as I close, I just want us to, what's done is done. We know how the process works. But as this year continues, I know I, for one, want to be one that challenges us as a peer, not in opposition, but as a peer, to say, there's still a lot of fat. There's still a lot here that I plan to help with some professionals that can come in and really just help us in a positive way. I'm not here to point the finger, guys. I know you've got a tough job ahead of you. The Finance Committee, I know, I don't envy you. But again, we've got to make some difficult choices. Otherwise, we continue to repeat the same cycle. And I believe it puts our community at risk. I believe it puts our community back decades. And so with that, I just pray that we can come together and continue to meet the challenges of our residents and of this fine community. But if we don't make those challenges, if we don't dare to be different, we're going to continue to repeat the same old processes. And if you keep doing the same old thing the same old way over and over and over and expect it to get better, that's the definition of insanity. This is what we teach our children. So I just think it's time that we maybe walk what we talk. And I'm not challenging anyone in particular. I'm just saying this budget does have a lot that can be challenged. And I think all of you who have looked at it, I think if you search your heart, you'll see, there is still more work to be done. God bless each and every one of you. I do trust and pray that we will continue to strive to get better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against the proposed 2017 tax budget? Anyone else who wishes to speak against? Hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. And we will reconvene our regular council meeting. The next item up for consideration is the resolution adopting the 2016 tax budget. With there only being 5 members of council present, we can only have one reading. So if someone would like to make that motion, Mr. Mumper,
I move we have one reading of the resolution.
seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan. Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries.
Resolution adopting 2017 tax budget.
We have 2 requests to address council, but not on agenda items, so we'll deal with those a little later on in the meeting. We'll move on to reports of committees of council, and the first is Finance, Budget, and Audit. Mr. Sanker?
Thank you, Madam President. This committee report of finance was dated 5/26/16 to the Honorable Council, the City of Norwood, Ohio. We, your Committee of Finance, to whom was referred a 2016 appropriation, beg leave to submit the following report. After reviewing cash flow and expenses, the committee recommends putting 1, a hold on issuing POs, and have them reviewed bi-weekly by a committee, and 2, a hold on hiring at this time. These will be put in place after being reviewed by the Law Department. Respectfully submitted, Joe Sanker, John Mumper, Andrew Clark, and Mrs. Tammy Stickley.
Mr. Mumper?
I move the committee report be accepted.
Seconded by Mrs. Hannerhan. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We'll move on to third reading of resolutions. That's a resolution in support of new gymnastics program at the Richard E. Lindner YMCA. Mrs. Stickley,
I move that we have the third reading.
seconded by Mrs. Hannerhan. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries.
Resolution in support of new gymnastics program at the Richard E. Lindner YMCA.
Mr. Bonso,
I move that we approve the resolution.
Mrs. Stickley, seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Can we send a copy of that resolution to the Y? I'm sure they would like a copy of that. Thank you, Mr. Gears. We have no introductory readings of ordinances nor resolutions. We'll move on to administration reports. Mr. Mayor, you didn't submit a letter. You have any desire to do a administration report?
Well,
Welcome back, by the way.
I got more desires than you can shake a stick at, but I don't know how many I can handle. I'll answer any questions. I know there's been some discussion over a letter that I sent to every.
We're going to deal with that later.
Okay, but I'll be more than happy to talk about that. I was waiting for a report from the fire department. There's been a lot of discussion about these overdoses on drugs and everything, and the report that I had in April, I believe, through March, it was down dramatically, the amount of overdoses in the city. And I think as we speak, that continues on. Does that mean it's over? No. Is there a big decrease in the amount of overdoses? Yes. Can it go back up again? Yes. I think, all the publicity that's been given to it, it might have gotten through some people's heads, but I was waiting on a number from the fire department today, but I should have that shortly. But I believe it's on a decrease, and I think that's a good thing. And if anybody's got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Mr. Mumper?
Highland Avenue. How long will that be closed?
That's a good question. That's the Cincinnati project, and I'm not sure. If you remember, because we kept getting complaints about potholes down there under the railroad bridge. Matter of fact, on a couple of occasions, we went down and bashed them because we were getting all the complaints, and it's Cincinnati. So apparently Cincinnati has decided once and for all, we're gonna fix that, because it floods and the water gets under the road, and the road buckles, and every year it's a problem. And it's right in that curve under the bridge, and it'll cause some people to have head-on crashes. I was down by there today, I came over from the other direction, and they're really ripping it apart. So I have no idea how long it'll be, but to sacrifice some time now to keep us from getting phone calls, I'll take that.
It's just, you find out how much of a regular route that is when you can't use it.
I noticed that twice in the last week. Yeah.
Doesn't make a trip to Lowe's very easy, does it? Mayor, just as a comment to your drug overdoses, I was intending to go to a meeting today that I didn't make, but I got feedback. Someone called me who went to a meeting where Coleraine Township was presenting on how they were dealing with drug overdoses, and I must tell you that I was told that Norwood was called out because of the police and fire department for the good work that they're doing. So that was recognized in Coleraine Township, apparently, that we are part of a bigger coalition, not only of the Drug and Alcohol Coalition, but apparently a coalition of police and fire departments, and both of the departments were called out for the positive role that they play in that, so I wanted to pass that on.
And it's that way working across the city. All the publicity has generated a lot of interest. And, I don't know, even people who are on those heroines, that there's enough people talking about it, that they're probably talking to them, they're probably talking to the news. And to be honest with you, there have been cases where people have overdosed on drugs, and the fire department responded and brought them back, and they said, "Oh man, that was good stuff." But you know what? A couple of those people that said that the second time they overdosed, nobody was there in time to save them. So, and it's happening so quick and it's so deadly that I don't think many people can understand it. But I think finally, through the news media and through the police and fire and health departments and everybody getting involved in it, it's finally starting to take hold. So, and I think there's an improvement. I think sometimes city governments and federal governments overreact to a situation. In this case, I think the reaction was just right, and I think it's having the desired effect. How long it'll go, I don't know, but it's moving in the right direction.
Any other questions of the mayor? Mr. Bonsall?
Yeah. Will there be any kind of publication or any sharing of these numbers? I know I would love to, if it's okay, share them with various people that I've talked to about this. I mean, is the police department planning on publishing or sharing this by chance?
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to share it to you if you can get through on the phone. Well,
Sure.
Brenda's out of town anyway. Our phones don't work half the time, but as soon as I get that report from the fire department, I'll be more than happy to share it with you.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
That's the good news. We just don't want to give out the impression that, well, it's all taken care of, it's all done.
Absolutely.
But if we hear all the negative stuff, and when there's something that's moving in a positive direction, it doesn't hurt to share it, to let everybody know that, everything is not bad news. So I'll get that to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mrs. Hanahan?
Okay, I'd like to ask the mayor if you have any update on the phone system for people who are trying to call in.
Yeah. They're down in Public Works installing now. As you know, they went through and changed all the lighting. Duke contractor did. And now we're in the process of changing that phone system over. And I'll tell you what, I got to speak to the auditor, and I'm going to be talking to the law director. There's some information that came out of this phone system that we found out that it's really upsetting. And as soon as the phone system's completed, we will be talking to this individual who knows the system and has had affiliation and had business with Cincinnati Bell. And as soon as we speak to him, we will be immediately talking to the auditor and the law director. Because I personally believe the city is owed some money, and we'll be looking into that.
Any other questions of the mayor? Thank you. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
That's no problem.
We have two requests to address council. The first is James Fisher. Would you like to come forward, Mr. Fisher? give us your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak. And he's speaking on comments made on or about the May 24th at the housing meeting.
James Fisher, 1811 Hopkins, Norwood, for 43 years. I'm here on a comment that's made on the 24th by an employee in the housing. And he made a statement that if you're too old to keep up on your, not word for word, I would hear, but basically if you're too old to keep the upkeep on your house, you should leave Norwood. Well, that's scary to single out a group. And I'm sure the shot was made at me because it's basically what I said in the last council meeting. But the bullseye he hit was most seniors, homeowners in Norwood, which is a pretty extensive group, I think. And it made me mad when I heard it. And then talking to my wife, it scared us both, because to single out a group, especially citizens that have been here, paid taxes, voted for you the last time, sir. Not the first time, but the last time. I think it's very, very scary to hear that. And I really am here to ask for these employees dismissed, to be terminated. And I know this question going to be why. Well, I don't think he can do his job in a fair and just way. We just got through saying Pledge of Allegiance. In there it says, what, justice for all or fair? So I don't think that...
Can you speak up?
Okay.
We're having a hard time with
Okay,
the air
I
conditioning.
don't think that
It's the air conditioning.
with his bias, and I wanted to say hate, I won't say hate, I'll say dislike for senior citizens, that he continued doing his job in a fair and just manner that should be done in. Statements should not be made about any group. Their TV people, their radio people that lost their jobs for making less statements, I think. I mean, I've been here a long time, and a lot of those have been here a long time. And I just don't think that this person should hold a job in the city that I live in. I mean, what's he want to leave Norwood, move under a bridge or something or other? This is my home. I've raised 2 kids, and I've raised 2 grandkids, and on 3 great-grandkids right now. And it's just very upsetting to have any official or any representative of Norwood to make a statement like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
He asked if there were any questions. Mrs. Hanrahan?
I would just like to say that I was at that meeting, and I did hear the comment that you're talking about, and I do not, think it was offensive.
It was very offensive. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. The next request to address council is Pastor Sonny James on the community.
Pastor Sonny James, 1830 Hopkins Avenue here in Norwood. I wanted to, for those of you who couldn't make it out on May 27th, we had a fabulous... It was packed, wasn't it? Over 300 folks came out. And this is just the first of many events to come like this. And we had the fire department, they came out. Bobby can tell you that the fire department came out. They set up the grill for these young folks and the families. They did all of the grilling for us. The police department came out. These young folks right from our community, some of the same ones that we turn our cheeks up at, some of the same ones that are misheard or misunderstood or devalued, came together with our police, our fire, and other residents, and they played basketball, not against each other, folks. They played basketball together. And I just want to say, for the residents of Norwood, good job, good job. And I mean that. And the YMCA was awesome. They opened the pool so that all of the families could come in and swim. We didn't charge any of the residents anything. With our church, we do a video gamers challenge for the kids in the community. We awarded real live championship belts, not toy belts, but real life championship belts to these kids. And I mean to tell you, when this one young man in particular put that belt on, he ran out to the swimming pool, and you would have thought he had just won the heavyweight title at the Olympics. He went out and he held that belt up and he says, "Yes, I did it." And everybody just looked at him. And I just want to tell you, I keep saying we're going to do more of these events, but I want to thank, obviously, the YMCA, Keep It Real Worldwide Ministries, Anointed Corner Promotions, McDonald's, United Dairy Farmers, the Norwood Police Department, the Fire Department, NCT Television, Chipotle, Aaron's, the Norwood Service League, Quick Pick, Sherman Market, Myers, the Fire Department, Domino's, and just the residents of Norwood for coming together. And folks, let me tell you something. I've given a 13-point plan. Most of you have read it. If you take the skilled individuals who know how to deal with all people on all levels, we can get a lot done. My next event that I'm going to announce, you can write it down now. I'm not going to give the date just yet because there's some parameters there. We're going to do a golf outing for these same young folks in the community. We're going to do a bowling excursion. And guess what? If we just help these young folks do something positive, guess what? They're not looking to always break down the city and tear things down. We've just got to show them that we can come together. So I just want to applaud council, those of you who were able to show up. Some of you had said you had other obligations. We are really trying to do some good, positive things for the youth in the community of Norwood, and that event went without one incident. Now, to me, that's huge. When you bring all kind of folk together, all different backgrounds, all different beliefs, just all different understanding. And for the first time in the history of Norwood, we brought together the at-risk community along with the community's leadership, and everybody got along. And folks, it doesn't take a 911 episode to have us have that happen again. So I encourage you, when you hear of the other events coming up, and they are coming up soon, we will partner again with the Y toward the end of the summer. We're going to partner with the Recreation Department, providing the city opens the door to allow me to do those events that we have proposed in the past. We will start doing on the rough side a little bit more often. But I just want to encourage you, please get involved. Please call me. Email me, pastorsonnyjames@gmail.com if you have any questions. That's SONNY. Or even call me on the phone, any of the residents of Norwood, 513-487-8843. And I will be there to answer your call. God bless you all. It is nice to see the mayor in good health and that he is sitting with us. God bless you. We thank God that you and your family are being strengthened every day. And we just need to support each other. We need to show support. God bless you. Peace.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any questions?
Any questions of Pastor James? Thank you. Excuse me. We'll move on to unfinished business. Any unfinished business? None? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Mrs. Hanrahan.
Hi, we received a letter from Mayor Williams concerning the Metropolitan Sewer District, and I wanted to know if he'd like to speak on this and explain what he wrote to us.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, thank you. I raised this issue some time ago, and with recent news events, I decided to raise it again. I said it before, and I'll say it now, and I believe this very strongly. Since I've been in office, which is 12 years, and the 2 years on council at large, and for John and Joe and Donna and Keith and everybody who's been in the office for some time, we have heard time and time and time again when people get their water bills complaining about the Metropolitan Sewer District bill. And we have always said there's nothing we can do. Joe and I attended a meeting right after I came into office down at the sewer district, along with a couple other municipalities, and we were told at the time that you can look for a 7% increase for the foreseeable future. That's one time they kept their word. That price has gone up every year, and we've always been told there's nothing we can do about it. We don't have a say. If you go back to 1968, when that was formed, the city of Cincinnati took the lead on it. I don't know how strong the county was at the time, but Cincinnati was pretty strong. And so the way that was written up is Cincinnati was totally covered. Norwood, on the other hand, had storm sewers and combination sewers and sanitary sewers. All of these sewers combined and entered into the same place off of Duck Creek Road. They all went to the same place. Since the city of Cincinnati had theirs totally covered by MSD because they ruled a combination. Norwood didn't get that same courtesy, even though they go to the same place. So that was the first time Norwood didn't get, a fair treatment. And so as time went on, and this issue first raised, what I would like to see council get together, committee of the whole meeting, and come up with a direction we should go. And have the law department there, and have the auditor and the treasurer there. Because, number one, we have to look at the legal ramifications. My opinion is, I'd like to find a reason to get them in the court. And the other recommendation I would love to see, we send them down $5.4 million every year. We collect from our ratepayers in Norwood $5.3 to $5.4 million. We collect it and send it down. And word that I got from the auditor's office, they have to run it down sometimes because if they're late by 1 day, they charge a penalty. We got to get that, you got to get us our money. Well, maybe it should be our turn to look at our options. What I would like to see, and this is where the law department will probably cringe a little bit, I would like to see us hold back our money and put it into an escrow account. In other words, say, we're going to pay you, but we want it straightened out, or we want a refund, or we want some type of action. If you look at the last report, I think the audit committee was city officials and the law department. The city manager and the mayor, and I think the law department were part of the committee. Now that's independent, if I ever heard it. And then they said, well, we're going to send that on to the auditor and to the prosecutor and everybody else and let them see. Well, when you send that report, if you look at that report, Mr. Parrott is gone. He's in now Louisville. So it seems like the one guy who's gone is the fault of everything. He's gone, so we'll blame it on him. I glanced at the report. I don't think it's specific enough. I don't think there's enough information in there. I'd like to know how much money was totally wasted. And then I would like to see Norwood get treated fairly. And if we move to do something, maybe, just maybe, some other municipalities will stand up and do something. But if we sit back and say, well, there's nothing we can do, then we turn into sheep like everybody else. And as long as we take that attitude where they can shove us around, they'll shove us around. But if they find out that maybe Norwood's got a good point and Norwood will shove back, it might help. But I think this is not just one person decision, but I would like to see this council, in its infinite wisdom, the law department, the auditor's office, and the treasurer's office sit down as a council committee of the whole meeting and come up with some sort of a strategy to address this. If we don't, it's our one and only opportunity, and if we don't, then nothing will happen. Because what I read, the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office said he's not going to look at it because the Department of Justice is looking at it. I don't know about anybody else, but I really don't have any faith in the Department of Justice. I don't think the DOJs, I don't have any faith in them at all. But we'll wait and see. So that's my thoughts. I would just like to see it discussed in the committee of the whole. Thank you.
Any comments? Yes, Mr. Bonsall.
So I just want to thank the mayor for bringing this to our attention. I don't know a lot about this subject, especially the details, but if what you say is true when it comes to the Cincinnati having all of their underground lines being deemed combination, and not all of ours, which I have no reason to doubt you. That just seems to be concerning to me, and I'm very much open to if there's anything that we as a council can do, pending, I guess, the law department to let us know. I'm very much open to doing whatever we can. And then my second point is going to be that there are other communities, I think Wyoming is one of them, but there's this group called First Suburbs that they get together, and I know that there's other communities that are talking about wanting more input when we get the 2018, when the new agreement's formed after the 50-year agreement's expired. So I would definitely be curious what these other communities are doing, and if we can kind of band together and rise up, because the city of Cincinnati now, I think we're 800,000 people or something like that in Hamilton County. The city of Cincinnati is 300,000 of those people. I mean, the suburbs outnumber the city of Cincinnati now, where I'm sure that wasn't the case before. So, yeah, I hope we can get a better shake, and I appreciate bringing this up.
I appreciate that. We go back to, first of all, that agreement goes back to 1968. I don't know what was said in 1968. I know that I don't think Norwood got treated fairly. The other issue is that every time an MSD crew comes in the city of Norwood, they are very good to work with. The guys that are out there doing the work, performing the task, are really good to work with. They work well with our public works. They assist public works, and anytime they need assistance, and public works, if they're close, they need assistance, they give it to them. It's not the crews. It's the way that money's being spent. And I just feel as though Norwood we should review our options.
Any other comments or questions for the mayor? Mr. Mumford?
I agree with the mayor that we ought to do something, and I agree with him that the crews are well run, because a guy I work with, his brother is in charge of all the crews, and he's a really good guy, really gangbusters type guy. And he just was handed the rest of the deal just recently. And meanwhile, the administration of MSD is not doing a good job with their budget. That's pretty obvious, and I think we'll see more about that in the news. So we ought to attack while they're down, kick them.
I know that right now the agreement, if I'm correct, Mr. Mayor, the agreement says that it's actually being run by the city of Cincinnati day-to-day operations, but the county has overall jurisdiction.
Yeah, the county owns it and the city runs it.
City runs it.
I'd be a lot harder to get along with if I was running it, but you don't know, some people get entrenched so well that you can't penetrate it. But
So I think we have some homework to do in terms of what the county's plans are. Perhaps you and I had talked about
yes,
doing some background work. So if it's council's desire to put it in committee of the whole, we can do so, and then after the mayor and I have done some background work, maybe we can report back to you when it might be appropriate to meet, if that's what you desire. Just let us know, Mr. Mumford.
Let's put it in committee in a whole, and then you notify us when it's time for a meeting.
All right, we'll do that. Thank you. Mrs. Sanahan, did you have a comment?
No, I was going to do the same thing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there any other new business? Mrs. Hanahan?
I would just like to announce and remind everybody on June 20th at 6:30, we are having a housing meeting, and it's concerning the beekeeping in Norwood. And anybody who'd like to come and speak to our events, so that's all.
So June the 20th at 6:30
6:30
here in council chambers, housing meeting, and the agenda is beekeeping.
Yes.
Is there any other new business? Mr. Bonsall?
Yeah, so I guess kind of piggybacking off Sunny James, just about different events going on. So this Friday, in my opinion, it sounds like it's going to be West Norwood Day, because there's going to be quite a few events going on in the area. So every Friday night, Mariah Pie, which is at the Speckled Bird Cafe, it's right at the corner of Carter and Mills, they'd have a pay-as-you're-able kind of pizza event. They have a pizza that's where all the ingredients are grown locally here in Norwood, except for the cheese and the flour. And so they always do it 4:30 to 9:30, but they're also having a free concert at 6:30 on the plaza right in front of the old St. Elizabeth Church. So it starts at 6:30. There's going to be 2 great performers. One of them just lives right down on Mills, very talented lady. And then at 7:30, the police department is doing a movie in the park at Lower Millcrest Park. And
I'm sorry, they're doing what?
It's like a movie in the park. It's going to be in the
Okay.
shelter house at the Lower Millcrest. And it's going to be the Minions movie. I don't know which one, but anyways, there's going to be a lot of great events happening in West Norwood. So just kind of wanted to let council know about that.
And that's this Friday,
This Friday.
June the 17th. Yes, 17th, all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any other new business? All right, we'll move on to communications. The first is a letter from Mayor Williams regarding Mayor's Court fines for May 2016.
Dear Madam President and members of council, enclosed, please find the report for Norwood Mayor's Court for the month of May 2016. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Thomas F. Williams, Mayor, City of Norwood.
Mr. Mumper.
I move the letter be received and filed, and I have to say one more time, we don't need this whole report. We just need the letter and page 3 of the report, which gives the total of the funds. If somebody wants to count up to the 3rd page, that's all we need. We don't need all this because it's a waste of paper. And it's still printed on one side of the paper. It's not duplexed either. I don't know what the problem is. Is there a button somebody doesn't know how to push?
So there was a motion somewhere in there to receive and file the report. There may be a legal requirement to do that, I don't know. I know what you're understanding about duplex. Mayor, is there a second to the motion to receive and file? Second by Mrs. Stickley. Discussion. You have a comment?
We do that just to hear John whine.
I'll check them. There may be a legal requirement to report that to council. I don't know. The motion on the floor is to receive and file the report. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye. Next is a letter from Chuck Barlow regarding monthly earnings tax report for May 2016.
To Norwood City Council, attached is the monthly report for May 2016, indicating collections in the amount of $1,400,737.92. This reflects an average year-to-date increase of 2.58% from 2015. Should you have any questions, please contact the Earnings Tax Department, Chuck Barlow, Earnings Tax Department.
Mr. Mumper.
I move the letter be received and filed, and I'd like to thank the Earnings Tax Department for finally having an increase over last year, and we expect them to double that increase every month for the rest of the year.
Seconded by Mrs. Hannerhan. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Marion Snigenberg regarding the Norwood Hometown Fireworks.
Dear Mayor Williams and members of City Council and citizens of Norwood, come one and all and celebrate this year's 13th annual Norwood Hometown Fireworks. It's hard to believe that over a decade ago, through the grassroots effort of a handful of Norwood citizens with seed money from the Carl H. Lindner family, that this community event continues to grow and develop as a family tradition for great food and 4th of July fun. The Norwood Fireworks Committee continues to present new entertainment and on-site activities for families to enjoy. Take a look at what is happening this year. Rousey Famous Fireworks will return to light up the skies with a dazzling fireworks finale. Voted the best dance band by The Knot for 2014, 2015, and 2016, you can rock and dance the night away with the company band. We are lucky to have them. Bring your lawn chairs and enjoy this outdoor concert from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. There is definitely a lot to see and do this year. Backed by popular demand is urban chalk artist Jonathan McQueen, and remember those cute little puppies from Sweet Dream House Rescue? Well, they are back and looking for a forever home. Fabulous Faces will also be on site. They are promising new designs for your face and will turn you into a walking work of art. The Rockin' Raffle will return with amazing prizes. Not to be outdone by your backyard barbecue, we will have cool and delicious food choices for you to enjoy, including the Kona Ice Flavor Wave, Cold Stone Creamery Yummy Ice Cream, Eats East Coast Sandwiches, and Street Chef Brigade featuring the ultimate in comfort snack food with a twist. Yes, the Norwood Boy Scouts Dirt Dogs will be grilling their infamous hot dogs too. To help extend the initial funds, the Norwood Fireworks Committee reaches out to local companies and organizations and encourages them to participate through the many sponsorship packages that are available. It is not too late for a company to participate. Sponsorship dollars help offset event costs and get company names into the community. Contact Marion at mschnieg.com. The Norwood Fireworks Committee gratefully acknowledges that an event of this caliber could not happen without the professional, dedicated committee members, civic groups, volunteers, and local business resources, as well as the cooperation of the City of Norwood and the Norwood Board of Education. So please come celebrate freedom, pride of community, and family on the 4th of July. See you there. Please note, no alcohol, coolers, and pets are permitted on the stadium grounds or parking lots. Thank you.
Mr. Mumper.
I move the letter be received and filed. That's all I'm saying.
Wow. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Bonsall. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We have 2 absent members. Before we do, I want to congratulate Mr. Mumper on, I'm sorry, you wanted to make the announcement?
No.
Okay.
I didn't do anything.
Birth of, he has new twin grandchildren, 2 twin boys. Congratulations, your daughter did all the work, but nice pictures of you. And we have yet to hear from Andy. His wife was going to be induced starting last night, and I checked Facebook before we came on, and nothing's on there, so my guess is nothing has happened, so good luck to both of them. We do have 2 absent members. Mr. Mumper.
I move we excuse the absent members.
Seconded by Mrs. Hanahan. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Mr. Mumper?
I move we adjourn.
Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan. Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.